The way we get around Scotland's biggest city is about to undergo a major change. Low emission zones will be enforced in Aberdeen, Dundee and Edinburgh from June next year, but it's Glasgow that's up first.
Undoubtedly, this is the biggest challenge coming through a pandemic and all that came along with that. The changes that are going on in the city, the low emission zone and the lack of available vehicles, are massive challenges for the trade.
Dougie McPherson is the chairman of Glasgow Taxis. For 13 years, he's driven one of the 750 cabs that bear the company name.
Well, having worked in an environment where all your working hours and your annual leave were all controlled, the major attraction was working for yourself, working hours that suited you.
But the flexibility of being self-employed comes at a cost.
The only choice of new vehicle is around £70,000. Drivers would require to finance that, having come through a pandemic. To introduce a new bill to a household of somewhere in the region of £1,400 a month is not going to happen for someone in their late 50s. So they will look for the low-cost option.
Another option is to have your taxi modified to meet the targets. But for 50 cabs, that isn't possible, and 200 are still waiting for work to be carried out.
There are supply chain issues for these retrofit engineering solutions, which mean that drivers and operators don't know when they will be able to get their vehicle retrofitted, and once that has happened, they will require to keep that for a further 3 years.
All vehicles entering the LEZ will need to meet the emission standards. That's Euro 4 for petrol cars and vans, generally vehicles registered from 2006. Euro 6 for diesel cars and vans, vehicles registered from September 2015. And Euro 6 for buses, coaches and HGVs, generally registered from January 2013. 85 to 90% of the 125,000 vehicles that enter Glasgow every day are expected to meet emission standards. But that's little comfort to drivers, and Dougie says some will have to leave the industry because of the changes.
Taxis still very much do have a part to play in an integrated transport system in Glasgow. The Connectivity Commission referenced that. The placement of taxi ranks being critical. Glasgow would suffer greatly without that provision.
Dougie says a lot has changed since Glasgow City Council announced the emission zones.
Right from the get-go, we supported the low emission zone. I think very few people would push against that. It's absolutely the right way to go, but there is so many things have happened between when that was drafted and now, and Glasgow needs to take a step back here, look at the examples of other cities, in particular look at the funding options that are available to keep the trade moving.
Air quality levels here in Glasgow have a similar effect on your body to smoking 92 cigarettes every year. And Friends of the Earth Scotland say that across the country, air pollution leads to around 2,500 deaths every 12 months.
One of the difficult things to understand about low emission zones is a transport idea, a transport policy, but it's for health outcomes, it's to improve our health in the city of Glasgow. We've been waiting 15 years for a low emission zone. That's a generation that have grown up with increased risks of things like asthma, and no action's been taken. No low emission zone, nothing else.
Glasgow City Council's own internal audit of the zones warned the policy could hit poorer people harder.
Transport and air quality have inequalities baked within it. Richer people drive more, they own more cars, they drive more, so they pollute more. And people in the lowest incomes, low-income communities, breathe in more polluted air. So our current transport system has rich people driving cars and poor people breathing in those fumes.
Glasgow has already introduced some of the LEZ. The most polluting buses have been banned from the city centre since December 2018. But Gavin admits there is a long way to go if Glasgow wants to meet its ambitious target to be net zero by 2045.
Public transport in Glasgow is pretty shocking. The bus network in particular, you ask anyone wait at any bus stop. When you look at the changes that are happening across Europe, that cities are being reshaped to have more space for people to reduce emissions, cities in Scotland are way behind on things like transport, public transport, pedestrianisation, limits on car use, all of those things. Yeah, we need a real step change.
And then there are those who can't use public transport, even when it is available.
I live in the Cumbernauld area. It takes me about 20 minutes coming to work. My car is a 2012 Mondeo, so it doesn't fit in with the LEZ compliance, so it's just a no-go into the city centre.
Susan has a range of mobility issues and completely relies on her car.
I cannot walk very far. The distance from the car park to my place of employment is just what I can manage. I can't do buses. I get travel sick. Trains, again, it's back to the travel sickness, but it's getting to the train station. Again, I would need my car.
She accepts something needs to be done about air pollution, but wonders why exemptions can't be made in certain circumstances.
I looked at it, and the car park that I currently use is 0.3 of a mile from the zone edge. Why can't they make a corridor? It's not just me.
Those who live within the zone won't be charged until June 2024, and blue badge holders are exempt from the LEZ charges altogether. But Susan doesn't qualify.
You know, I'm wholeheartedly behind it, but at the same time, I've got to pay bills. And to pay bills, I have to go where the work is. And where the work is, unfortunately for me at the moment, is city centre.
What are you going to do on June the 1st?
I don't know. I don't know, Oliver. At this moment in time, I still don't know. You know, I can get quite upset about it. You know, everybody's coming back with buying a new car. It's not an option. I'm still paying for this. This car is perfectly, you know, fit for the job that it does. But I don't think I'm being unreasonable in saying that there must be another way around it.
Glasgow City Council says locals have been consulted on and warned about these zones for years now.
This is fundamentally about public health. This is a crisis that we have in the city of Glasgow where, you know, for a number of years we've had widespread and dangerously high levels of air pollution, the highest concentrations in Scotland.
Glasgow's journey to low and eventually no emissions will rely heavily on people being able to walk, cycle and catch public transport.
There is a long way to go. We are working with the bus partnership around improving bus priority, bringing down journey times, and indeed we have big aspirations around active travel, around an integrated public transport system.
Whilst a big change for Glasgow, more than 300 cities around Europe have already introduced similar schemes.
We know from the 300 plus cities around Europe that these kind of schemes, these kind of measures work. There's absolutely no reason why Glasgow can't be more like Copenhagen or like Amsterdam or any of these cities that have actually been on some of these journeys for decades already. But it's something that we need to do, because if we fail to move forward, then that will be more progress lost on improving public health and on creating a cleaner environment for people who want to live, work, visit the city centre.